Okay, the red light is on. We're recording. All right,
Uh-oh.
hi friends. Hi everybody. This is Ed McColley. Ed McColley is a closing agent or a title agent with Performance Title of Loveland. And I wanted him to get on here with us today and talk about tax proration, which is probably one of the most confusing parts of the contract and of the actual closing. So when you look on a purchase contract or on a listing contract, there's a section in there that says something about tax proration. And then when you go to close on a house and you sign all your paperwork, there's prorated taxes. One is debited, one is credited, depending on whether you're the buyer or whether you're the seller. So Ed, I wanted you to help us kind of walk through how you explain what tax proration is, because it's probably one of your most asked questions, I bet too. Yeah.
And
next to when am I getting my money?
Everybody wants to know that part. Yes, tax proration. Right.
So when someone says, like, how does this work? How do you in layman's terms and like explaining to us like we're five, how do you explain what tax proration is?
So I always start with the explanation and understanding that we pay taxes in the arrears. And so getting your head wrapped around that, first off, helps with the explanation. And so what that means is, so July of this year, when the tax bills come out, it's actually, you're paying the second half of 2020.
Right. So when we get our tax bills July 1st, 2021, the taxes are actually for July 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020.
Correct.
So we're paying 6 months behind us.
Correct. So think of it as a seller, right? So coming to closing, let's say you're closing today, and on the Alta, there's the tax proration. You pay up to the day of closing.
Right, because you don't want to sell a house and the people buying it are now already starting behind in the time that you actually live there.
Correct. So right. So why would the buyers pay for time that they're not living there?
Correct.
So the sellers have to pay all of second half of last year, first half of this year,
or up to the day of,
up to today. So even though so they're not paying the full first half of this year because they didn't live in that the full
right, only up to the day.
Yeah. So that's the first part, is always understanding that, look, we pay in the arrears. And then part of what we were just talking about is the understanding that, again, as a seller, you're paying for up to the day of closing. So then as a buyer, you're getting a credit for that. I mean, and so your lender is putting that money, and that money is going to go into an escrow account so that when the bill comes July 1st,
it's already there.
It's already there. They don't have to send in a big check to cover that bill. And then from there on, as you make your monthly payment, they're taking so much out that's going to go towards the next bill.
Right, which is kind of technically behind also, but it's almost like a changing of money of hands, or changing money. What am I trying to say? You know what I'm trying to say. It's like you don't actually see that money because that seller is being debited, or it's getting taken out of the proceeds of their sale. It's put straight into this escrow account for the buyer. So they're getting credited this money in their escrow account, which when you pay, if you have a mortgage, you're paying your insurance, your mortgage, or your lender and taxes all in like one lump sum every month. So they like put it in this escrow account, they call it an escrow account, and then it gets credited when your tax bill is due. So you're exactly like you said, then you're not getting hit with some big tax bill starting off, and you don't want to pay for the time that you weren't actually living there.
Correct. Right. And so again, probably one of the most clearest as mud kinds of things
I know. In this industry. And trying to explain it, and also because on that contract, there's a part about prorations when it comes to like a tenant or an HOA fee, because those you pay ahead. You know,
Yes.
when a tenant pays you, they pay ahead, or HOA's dues are due ahead. So those get prorated, but it's like the opposite. So it's very strange how that'll work. So taxes, Hamilton County, Claremont County, Butler County, Warren County, I know for sure, we all pay behind. We're all in arrears.
Correct.
Yeah, so.
And we're not even going to the whole long and short, because
No, we're not talking about that. No, we're not. Ignore
No.
he ever said that, people.
Yes. Yes, but yeah, right. Like, so again, county by county, like sometimes there's intricacies, but to your point, the counties that you mentioned, paying the arrears,
Yeah.
it's cut and dry. And everybody it's up to. Now, where a piece of it that plays into it sometimes is if somebody doesn't escrow as a seller,
Right.
or they don't escrow as a buyer, those variables play into it a little bit. On the altar, you're still going to see the tax proration being covered.
But it's different though. They do it differently. And I think probably if we're looking at this 90% of the time, and I'm making that statistic up, but only because I've only just done really a few cash deals. I mean, because I can come into play with cash deals when you don't have a lender, right?
Correct.
But
Yeah.
for the most part, the majority of the time with your normal transactions, it's going to be like this. So
Yeah, and probably close to 5 years of doing this, I've seen maybe a handful of transactions that I've done where there was no escrow account. And
yeah.
so to your point, I mean, it's
Most of the time though, this is how it's done.
Yep.
So, okay,
Yep.
great. Well, if people have questions, and certainly they can reach out to you, Ed.
Yeah.
He works Performance Title of Loveland. Do you have a phone number or an email you want to share that I can share with everybody?
Sure. Phone number is 513-315-8994. And the email address, of course, is the hardest one, longest one in the world, but it's McColley@theperformancetitle.com.
Okay.
So,
And I'm going to put that in this mail that's going out for everybody. So if they do need to get a hold of you for any questions, title questions, they can do that. So
yeah.
I appreciate you talking to me about tax prorations, which is such a fun subject, and everybody should talk about it all the time.
Absolutely. Over dinner, right? Like that's
right. It's great dinner conversation. First date conversation, if you don't want to have a second date, you have this on your first date.
Bring it up. Guaranteed you'll be good.
Right. All right. Thanks, Ed.
Thanks.